Are we doing a cipher?
Hush it up. Just only for a minute.
I belong to you.
I belong to
You do just what you want. You're the one I trust. And I always be around when I need some loving, baby. No one else.
you. Let you down. Playing all my melodies.
Take me to your heart.
I belong to you.
Take me to your soul. No one else.
Oh yeah, it's about to go down. Happy Saturday morning to each and every one of you. How are you guys doing this Saturday? It's been a while. It's been a few weeks out of town, doing a couple of things, but we are back for our Saturday live training. And this one today, I'm telling you right now, if you have any questions, if you have anything that you want to learn today around community, around how to build a community, the conversation today, we're going to be talking about an ecosystem around your podcast. And the first kind of topic in this series is going to be around community. I have some of the best people in the live stream podcasting community to talk about their community, but also how do you, as yourself, build a community. And we'll be right back after this. All right, let's do this. All right, we're going to do this. Just want to make sure we let everybody know where we are. Oh, there we go. We are over here on LinkedIn as well. So if you have any comments, questions, or thoughts that you want to share, we're going to be over here on LinkedIn. We also are on Facebook for Podcasters Live. We are Podcasters Live everywhere. And then last but not least, we are over here on YouTube at our YouTube channel at Podcasters Live as well. All right. Without further ado, because we got a lot of stuff to talk about, and I don't want to kind of belabor any of this stuff that we're going to be talking about. If you have any questions and thoughts, make sure you put that into the chat today. I want to introduce all of these guys. We're going to go. I'm going to introduce all of them, and then they're going to introduce themselves. What's going on, gentlemen? Let me make sure I got you guys. Oh, there we go. There we go. I got you. Look at Chris. Did you just go to the gym?
No, I didn't just go to the gym. I actually am missing a gym
appointment for this, so I had to push it back. So it's all
Dude,
good.
okay, man. I think you just went to the gym and then you just came here. You trying to show us with that medium shirt on, man. Come on, dude.
Looking all swole in the
Look
morning.
look at all swole. Look, I'm sorry. This is how it's gonna go down today, everybody. We're gonna have some fun. Well, Chris, first of all, thank you for moving your gym appointment. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate it. All right, let's go around the horn. Quick introduction around who you are, what you do, and then we're gonna get into our topic today. Let's go and start with Corey. Corey looked like he's in the witness protection program. But we're gonna start with Corey.
I'm just not fancy like y'all with all your fancy backgrounds. That's all. What's up, y'all? I'm Corey Gumbs. I'm the founder of the Black Podcasters Association, which is an online community for Black podcasters and professionals in the podcast industry.
Excellent. All right. Let's go to Swole. Let's go. Oh, not Swole. His name is Chris Williams.
Hey, everybody. Chris Williams here from the Grow Your Side Business podcast. I help people be able to take their business, build a podcast from around it so they can create the lead generation. And then also I teach people how to be able to build a successful business, even if you are a high achieving employee in your day job.
Excellent. All right. And Mr. Walter Gainer in a second. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. Good morning, good evening, afternoon, wherever you are. My name's Walt. I'm all in on this podcasting world, help build podcast networks, but my main passion is creating resources for people working while Black. My goal is to, help you so you're not dependent on people who are getting in your way. So yeah, happy to be here, happy to talk about this community building.
Yeah, excellent. And last but very not least, my man, the OG, Mr. James Hicks.
Come on, y'all East Coast fellas over there. I just rolled downstairs. What's up, man? Listen, James Hicks, founder at HicksNewMedia. I'm an engineering technologist, a creative entrepreneur. I say I'm driven by discovery and focused on purpose. Right. So yeah, I'm looking forward to today's conversation as well.
Excellent, man. Excellent. Well, good. I'll tell you what. Just to kind of set the context for everybody who's listening. One of the things that I think all of us, and we'll talk about here in a second, is that we are all in the process or actually have started. I know Corey and James have really thriving communities. One of the things that we started to kind of gravitate around, and we'll talk about the apps and all these other things that we're utilizing, is we just realized that we had a passion for community. But I think the other thing that has driven us together is accountability. And we're going to talk to all of you guys about accountability, having somebody in your corner that you can talk to, that you can run your ideas past, but more importantly, that's going to hold you accountable to what you said that you're going to do. Guys, I want to start with this question because we are talking about community today. I want us to start this question because a lot of people have a different perspective and different ideas, and maybe even you guys have a different idea about what actually is community to you as you think about as it relates to your podcast, your live stream, and also your business. Are they all separate, or do you feel like you need to have a community that actually connects each and every one of them? I'm going to start with James.
Community for me is something I feel that I'm shepherding, right? So again, it's my role to make sure that the community is locked in and focused and concentrated on a same goal. So the community is something that should be engaged, something that should be thriving. I think it can coexist along with all of the other aspects of one's business, one's podcast, one live stream, things of that nature. And it can't be overshadowed and can't be overlooked, and it has to be paid attention to. Right. So again, it's a very engaged forum of shepherded by whomever is an administrator, moderator, whatever the person may be, or group of folks is. But really, community is really what we really do all of this for. Right. If you tell people that you're doing this for yourself, just for subscribers, likes, fans, chats, whatever the case may be, you're doing it for the wrong reason. We are doing this to bring timely, relevant information and assistance to our community.
Excellent. Chris, what are your thoughts on this question?
I think it has to do with the mindset of the person and the reason why. So to me, you have a community inside of your house. right? That, to James' point, you are responsible for. That one is your default, right? Whether or not you choose to take on a larger responsibility in the business eco space, whether you choose to take on a larger responsibility by, starting a business, or whether you have a full-time 9 to 5, right? There's different levels of community. And so for me, I think community is any space that you frequent that you're actually trying to provide value to. And that's a choice, right? Like, some people go to work every day and just go to work and go home because they do not want to be a part of that particular community, right? They don't want to add more than what they are required to, quote unquote, right? So I think when you talk about in the podcast space, and as we build a business, the biggest thing for me is, how do you help develop, create awareness, and actually have some version of social proof that what you are providing as value can also be leveraged by other people, and there's evidence within that group. Because if it's not really any other evidence going on, then it's really just a show of you,
Yeah.
right? And that's not a bad thing. There's some communities that's what works in that community. I think the differences in our conversation is well, we don't want just, Corey's got the Black Podcast Association. It's not like, well, I just don't want it to be about me. I want to be able to make sure that we are creating, what pioneers before us have been able to do, a lane that somebody can get into and go take their gifts and talents and go build something great.
That's good stuff. All right, that's the end of the show.
I know, man.
See y'all next
Golly,
week.
this man.
Yeah, peace. Have a good weekend. Have a good weekend. Hey, Walt, what's your? I know it's a tough act to follow on that one, man.
Right, you should have put me first, man. Let me go first next time. Close it out. Yeah, I love all of those
Hilarious.
answers. I think for me, when I think of community, I think of like gatherings and support, right? But even more than that, I'm actually like this morning I was on the Spill app, and it's just kind of cool because it's like we've been on there for like 5 days now, and I'm seeing these different kind of groups forming, and not like divisive groups, but based on interest, like people kind of finding each other based on the things they enjoy, their lifestyle, and it's kind of cool, right? Because I think all the time we kind of view like family and community kind of in similar aspects, right? Your family, you're grouped by blood, you grew up with them, but your community, sometimes you find them and you get to interact with them just like family. So when it comes over to the podcast side of what I do, it's really just being a contributor to help people who are looking for a solution to a problem they're facing. Like for me, my whole podcast started because I was facing this problem. I felt like I was alone until I started creating the show and kind of contributing these resources to this problem I had, and other people started to have that same problem and were finding me. Some people just like they already knew me, but a lot of people came because like, oh, you know what, I've experienced this too. So it's like these shared experiences that kind of bring us all together, and that's what I think of when I think of community.
Excellent. And I honestly only brought Walter on this show for one reason, because James, if you take off your hat, I'm gonna take off my hat.
Hey, okay.
And he's the only one here.
No.
He's the only one here that has hair. Walter
I
is
thought
the
about
only...
that too. That's why I'm wearing a hat. That's literally.
Me too. I didn't...
Oh, Steve is on one today.
See it. You can't really see it. So that's the only reason I brought Walt on here, because he has discriminated against me for being on the show, Boss Lots, because I have a bald head. So I had to get you back. I'm
here for diversity. I got to show that black people can grow hair.
I got my diversity points now. I'm good. The man's not gonna cancel me. I got my diversity points. All right, Corey, what you got, man?
I mean, what everybody said is kind of what I also imbue in my community. But for me, like community, when I started the BPA, was more of like a group of people moving, coming together collectively to move towards a common cause, which was to really, for me, solve the problem of the diversity issue in podcasting, to give us a voice and space for us to show that we are, I hate to say it this way, but equals in the space, that we need to be recognized. Our voices need to be recognized. So that was important for me. And I just had to ask myself the questions of like, how do I do this? How do I make sure I provide the value in this community? What's important to the community? Because, some of you guys were in the Facebook group. It was a learning curve for me. So, just really learning how to remove myself and let the community go in the direction it wants to go into. As far as the business side goes, I've just learned from running a Facebook group until turning it till I decided to turn it into a business. It just evolved into it. So now I'm just thinking like ecosystem. How do I keep, create a system, or I kind of took it from the website, right? The platform. How do I create a platform, a community that can self sustain itself, that can work with it, work towards the same goal with each other versus separately. So,
Mm,
and I think that's the powers in numbers, and working as a collective body is important.
mm. Excellent, man. Excellent. We have. I just want to make sure we got a couple of people here in the audience right now. How are you doing today? We actually have more people over on LinkedIn, and as of course, as Restream would have it, the connection over on LinkedIn isn't working, but everybody's watching and seeing the show. Good morning. Good morning. How are you doing today? Service call. She's over here from Harlem. Good to see you. Good to see you. Great and amazing man of excellence on the screen. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Checks is in the mail. Checks in the mail for that.
We about to hit you with that Venmo.
Yeah. Hair diversity. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about today. Now we're going to talk more about that. It's wonderful to hear the unvarnished truth spoken. Look at Corey. She giving shouts out to
Okay.
Corey. I don't understand that. I don't understand that. Mr. Worthy, what's going on, Dan? How are you doing? We have a lot of people over here that are in LinkedIn. I actually put a link for YouTube because I want to be able to put your comments on the screen. So if you go over to the YouTube channel, we're going to be able to put your comments on the screen because we got quite a few people over here on LinkedIn, which is awesome. Eddie, Gary, Gwendolyn, I see you. Just go ahead and go over here on LinkedIn. Over on YouTube, and we'll get you sorted as well too. All right. Here we go. I want to talk a little bit about ecosystem around what does that mean. Or because, and that's why I got Corey on the screen first for having him talk about it. When you start talking about ecosystem, everybody, for those of us who are, Apple, kind of people or kind of grew up with like the iPhone generation, we hear ecosystem, we think about Steve Jobs, we think about what did he do with products and creating an ecosystem around around Apple. Corey, when you hear the word ecosystem, what is your perspective on that as it relates to a podcast or even a live stream?
That's exactly what you just said. How Steve Jobs did with Apple is exactly like, for me, the blueprint, right? You have a service or a product. So how do you keep people around, keep using that product or service? How do you keep them engaged in it? How do you keep them active in it? And for me with the community, it's a little bit different than, because we don't have a specific product or service. It's really, how do I keep my members in the community looking at this as a resource, as a tool that they need, whether it's on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, but they own it. And for me, it was, okay, what is the goal of what I'm trying to do with this community? I want to educate, I want to support, I want to create an environment that helps people thrive. So I try to bring those type of tools to the community. So for me, it's really, so now I'm starting, how do I tap into the people that are in the community? What services can they provide? What skill sets can they provide that will help everybody as a whole? So it's kind of like building a town, right? You got your blacksmith, you got your grocer, you got your police officer. So how do we all come together and use those skill sets so that everybody can tap in, and also, hopefully at the end of the day, create some kind of system where the wealth is just being constantly exchanged amongst ourselves. I don't want to use the Tulsa, Black Wall Street analogy, but the whole idea of it. So I take a little bit from, I'm a Steve Jobs fan, tech boy and all that stuff. So, taking that format and saying, okay, here's the central place. How do we branch it out and then keep everything just recycling inside of it?
I love that analogy around a town and how everybody actually has a role to play. The general store, right? The blacksmith, the
Right.
tailor, right? All the people in the town have a different role to play. And when I think about your community, I actually see that, right? I actually see. I don't know if you probably did that a little bit organically with Black Podcasters Association, but it just seems like there's this amalgamation of different talents that that you've been able to kind of bring into Black Podcasters Association. I appreciate that, James.
And you got to nurture them too.
You
Sorry,
got to
you got to
go. No,
nurture
go ahead,
them.
man. Go ahead.
You got to nurture those. Like when you see somebody in your community has specific talents, you got to nurture, encourage. You guys always hear me talking behind the scenes. Hey, when you want to do a workshop, when you want to do this, I want you to come do this. You got to nurture that, because sometimes people, their self-confidence, they have the imposter syndrome, stuff like that. And you got to let them know, like, you got something here that I think will benefit everybody. And let's figure out how, not only for you to help the people, but help yourself by turning that into some source of income for you. So that for me, that's what's also important as well.
Okay, no, I appreciate that.
For Corey, while he's up there and
So-
everything, I think something Corey does really well with his community is like he doesn't let people kind of forget about the opportunities. Like Corey's hit me up. I can't even count how many times. Yo, put this in the group. Yo, course available for you. Hey, we could do this content partnership thing. I'm over here like, okay, I guess. How does it work? I don't know. But yeah, I think that being that community leader, I think Chris was talking about that before, not putting yourself as like the centric person of the community, but really kind of being that curator, that moderator, playing those roles just to help people level up. So
excellent.
Doing it well, Corey.
Well, go ahead, Walt. Since you got the floor, go ahead and give me your perspective on your community. Because here's the thing, I want everybody. This is why all four of us or five of us are on here, because we all have very distinct communities, right? And I think the audience needs to understand that too, right? Because I think the other tendency around community and anything that you create, whether it's a podcast or a business, that the idea sometimes is like, oh, someone's already doing it, or someone's already started that, or they're already having that conversation. Listen to me, there's nothing new under the sun, period, at all. And we all have very distinct communities in business and even podcasts and live streams that we all do. So go ahead, Walt. I just wanted to kind of lay that foreground for everybody.
Yeah. And also, like, I feel like if someone's already doing something that's similar to me, I kind of view it as a good thing for real, because it's like proof of concept. It's like, okay, cool. I don't have to teach people about this. Like podcasting, like not that long ago, it was like, what? You doing what? Why? And now, pandemic boom happened. Everyone has a podcast. People call it saturated. But now when I say I have a podcast, I don't have to explain it to people. But as far as community and ecosystems, I have built my brand off of being a contributor to communities. When I started my show, I found that there's a whole like different groups of people who are already in community or are kind of lost and looking for that. So I've been able to just come in as that supporter, that contributor. So now I'm in a place where it's time to build a community that's under my brand. And my whole goal, everything I'm looking to do is really provide resources and build relationships that kind of exist in the community, but empower people to go outside of it as well. So I think when you have that ecosystem, whether you own it or not, it's like you can exist, your content can exist in all these different places all around the world without you being there at all. And I think like a really cool example of that ecosystem, actually, it's outside of podcasting, but have any of y'all played Grand Theft Auto?
Yes, when I was 12.
All right.
But yeah.
Whatever. I still play it.
You just dated yourself there, Worthy.
I know. I'm just on Atari.
All right. Well, I'm not like an avid player. If I played, I would probably lose all the time and die. But I was watching an episode of $1 Million Worth of Game, and T Grizzly was on. And he was talking about how he has a server where everyone plays in his specific world. And it's the opportunity to play with him, but more so, he's set it up so that people can actually, create a digital business within that world that relates to that community, operate on their own self, create their own brand, build it up, and earn from it as well. So when I look to create ecosystems and communities, it's both, okay, how can I create resources to help people, but also create opportunities for people to build something special that can exist to help contribute to other people in the community, but also help them do whatever it is they're trying to do. Because I'm big on relationships, big on opportunities, and it doesn't have to be tied to me.
No, that's good stuff. And I mean, you said a lot of great stuff there, but the one thing that stuck out, I got my little notepad here. You talked about proof of concept, right? Where if there's somebody that's already actually out there doing it, hopefully that's an encouragement to people who are going to be listening to this not live and also on a replay about when they want to start something. It's okay if there's somebody actually out there already doing it, but they're not going to be able to do it like you're going to be able to do it, period. Not no way, shape, or form. So It's okay if someone's doing it. It's just like Walt said. It's actually proof of concept. James, you got like 30 communities, like
Bruh,
you
listen to
the West Indian of live streaming, and
no.
like you know,
I'm gonna need that. Need that. Man, that's funny. You
I
funny.
need that T-shirt, James. Please. I need that.
You know
T-shirt.
I'm gonna make it. You
Oh, no,
know
here
I'm
we
gonna
go.
make it.
Here we go. And this is
That's
what
hot.
James. This is what James says to himself every morning. You know.
You don't do it. Somebody else are gonna do it. So hurry up yourself. Hurry up. Rise up. Forward. Why you talk about it and not being about it?
That's James. Every morning when he wants to start another community.
That's right in my ear. I'm brushing my teeth for, you know. I'm looking in the mirror myself.
No, go ahead, man. Listen to me. I mean, you know, we've been down for a while, and I'm always encouraged whenever I talk to you, but always encouraged to, you know, when you run ideas past me. I feel very privileged, to be honest with you. I'm not even just joking. I feel very privileged when you're like, dude, I'm thinking about doing this. And whether it's a community or concept or an idea, you know, but how do you bring everything together, you know, with Hicks New Media, right? Because you have a lot of different things, you know, kind of going on, but you always find a way to always make them make sense and to actually be part of your overall brand.
So I appreciate that, man. But I'm gonna answer that, but I want to slightly tail off of what Corey said, because what he said just, man, it hit me the right way. Because some of y'all know I worked for Apple for 10 years, and I had one of those infamous one-on-ones with Steve Jobs back in the day. So I am a part of the cult of Mac. I got in front of my studio, I have his Crazy Ones speech right here in front of me, telling me to go out there. And so this now goes into the question that you asked me.
Yeah.
I'm out here trying to put a dent in the universe. Right. So whatever I can do to be of value, to put a dent in the universe, to shepherd a community, stay locked in on very specific goals. I'm not out here trying to boil the ocean. And I'm not trying to do all things for everyone, but I do want to entertain, enlighten, and educate. Those are three things as a mission statement that Hicks New Media has. And I'm a multidimensional person, so I'm not going to just niche down and do one thing. I am going to talk technology. I am going to talk business, especially for entrepreneurs and solopreneurs and content creators. And I am going to talk about the other aspect of myself, which is social impact. So bringing those things together under one roof are what makes up Hicks New Media. As long as I don't veer off of that and start talking about, I don't know, basket weaving, if I don't start talking something outside of scope that I know that I can bring some value and some expertise, or I can find some resources into, then I'm going to stay locked in. I'm going to still stay enthused about getting up and getting it done. I'm going to be able to collaborate with folks like you guys and say, hey, let's start building something together as opposed to trying to do it all by ourselves. So long answer short, I stay locked in because my tagline starting from last year, I stay focused on you. I don't want this to have to be very long-winded, but that it really is kind of that simple, right? Stay locked in on where I know I can help bring value, either from myself or from the folks that I have around me, and make sure that I can continually bring it. Just like that clip you said, bring it every single day. Got to bring that energy. You see, I talk with the hands, right? And if I don't bring the energy to the community, there's going to be low engagement. There's going to be, you know, why should I? Folks are going to be like, why should I pay for a premium membership with this person if they don't seem to be as enthused, they don't seem to be as involved, they don't seem to be 100%. As facilitative and things of that nature. So you got to do what you got to do if you're trying to do it.
100%. 100%. And everybody that's out there listening, if you have any comments or questions, please don't hesitate to put it in the comments section so we make sure that we get those up there. Speaking of locked in, I don't know if anybody else other than on this panel that's locked in more than my man Chris.
That's a bad man right there.
I'm telling you, man. I wish I had that. I wish I had a soundbite.
That's a bad man, boy.
For him right now. I need something dope for him, but I don't have. I'm going to figure something out on my sound pad for you, Chris. How do you stay locked in, right? Because you know. You didn't. Here's the thing about Chris too, right? And I'm just gonna dote on you for a second, right? You know, people always talk about like these overnight successes and like, you know, oh, oh my gosh, it's overnight. Like Chris, it seemed like, man, you just I saw the work. I saw stuff that you were doing, like with the testing, and then all the and the tutorials, and then all of the the whiteboards, right? I was sitting back in the cut, just kind of watching you, and now you've blossomed and you've grown into this behemoth, man. How do you stay focused in, and how do you kind of corral people around your community, and then also making sure that you're adding value at the same time and staying true to who you are?
Man, well, appreciate the accolades. So I just did a quote. I did this post over on Threads. Shout out to Threads. Just recently, but I was saying that your need to know how is the reason you can't build your why. And what was making me think about that was the fact that if you just think about like how many times you may have started something, fell out of love with it, or fell out of interest, the amount of things that maybe you got into didn't stick around long term, and it doesn't matter what it is. It could be, for me, losing 65 pounds. Like that's not something small that you can just go do in 2 days. You have to literally be committed to it. But here's the kicker. I found out that too many times I was more focused on, well, how I'm going to do it. And because I was more focused on the how, I was basically a parked car on the highway of achievement.
Yeah.
And so as opposed to saying my why has to be so big that how will catch up with me down the road.
Say that again,
right?
Real quick. Say that again.
Your why has to be so big that the how will catch up with you down the road. How do we know that? Okay, we'll take Apple for example. Steve, y'all have to really think about like how we got what we have today. How did we get live streaming? Some people right now walking and watching this on their phone, thousands of miles away, right? It's because somebody had a big enough why and they could see it. Like it was so real to them. They did not stop until the how started showing up later down the road. Steve Jobs literally was like, yo, this is an iPhone. But before he was able to stand on that stage, it was in his head.
Yeah.
And I bring this up answering your question because I think sometimes we forget you're responsible for every single thought that comes across your mind. And some of us play with them thoughts. And so what happens? I don't believe thoughts just run away. I personally believe thoughts head off to the next person who gonna actually do something with it.
Dude, come on. Come on.
Come on.
Hold
up, man.
Come on, man. Let that marinate. No, don't slow down.
That right there, like that just blessed me, and I know it just blessed a whole bunch of other people because it just goes back to not to. But at the end of the day, the book in the Bible, the story in the Bible about you sitting on your talents, right? Hey, you know what? Why are you sitting on your talents, man? I gave them to you to do something with, and you are just sitting on them? Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
No, you're right. And so when I look at ecosystem, I feel like to continue the Steve Jobs thing, it's like, he didn't build anything until they were ready for that component. They didn't just build a bunch of stuff. They said, okay, wait a minute. Let's go back to old school cartoons. All of us watch Voltron. The beauty of Voltron was not necessarily just one of them. It was the fact that when they all came together, it was like, that's unbeatable.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If you look at the ecosystem of Apple products, it's I don't care what you build. You can't beat that ecosystem. Not because Apple and the team are just so great. It's because when they build something, they build it with the intention of going, this has to fit within all of these other things every single day. Like the fact that you can literally be working on your phone, sit down at your desk, pull up your Mac Mini, the same thing, continue to workflow. Like,
come on.
The seamless ability
Make
to
it
be
plain,
able to
preacher.
do work, I think with an ecosystem, it's the same thing. The difference is with people. So to Corey's point and Walt's point, it's like, look, I got to kill my ego at some point because the truth of the matter is, for me, I don't need to have the largest community. What I need to have is the most effective community around me, so that when it's time to actually get something done, it's like Voltron. When we put that thing together, I don't care what else is going on. You gonna notice this, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, I built communities slow at times, because what I've been trying to figure out is what makes sense for people. Where's the biggest fit? How can I continue to add value, but also allow others to add their value to whatever we're making? And I think 6-8 months ago, I've really started. I switched my focus more to what Walt is talking about, and to me, it's all about partnerships. How do we create partnerships that force the world to have to go, what the heck is going on over there? Like, how is that possible? Well, it's because some people, old quote that says, how does a square become a triangle? Well, somebody had to lose a side. Everybody had to drop an ego in order to be able to create this new thing, right? And that's what I really want. And so when I look at ecosystems, I look at it as the future of pretty much anything else that will get built. Because to your point, everything's already done. There's nothing new under the sun. The 2.0 of ecosystems is partnerships, collaborations. How y'all come together on a consistent basis, and how many people can keep making things. If you look at all the new stuff that's happening today, it's just all partnerships. Tesla was first. And what did he do first? He had first movers advantage. It's just the principle of life. And anybody who moves on something first, they tend to win the long game. He built the infrastructure for supercharging. Yeah. Guess what? Nobody else wants to spend that money. So what's happening? They like, all right, you win. We got it. All right, Ford, Lightning. Okay, we're going to let that. Yeah, we're going to make it work. Hey, but it's partnerships. You can't win in anything if you got some people who are seriously focused in an ecosystem on partnerships. It's just impossible at that point if you're not willing to do that. So that's me.
Agreed, man.
You know what?
I think the Voltron. I think everybody got the Voltron. Example except for Walt.
At least I was gonna say at least 4 out of 5 of us did. 4 out of 5.
My Voltron Power Rangers. When the Power Rangers came together.
That's the Voltron knockoff.
Yeah. I had the theme song in my head as soon as he said that, and I said, "Oh,
that's the
Lord,
Voltron.
okay."
That's the Voltron knockoff. Let's go over here. Let's get some. See, we got a few people in here. Okay. Thank you, sir. I am worthy. I appreciate that. Love the idea of not niching down. I'm sorry. We these are a little old. I should have kind of went back, but everybody was just saying so much dope stuff that I apologize. I love the idea of not niching down and doing everything that speaks to who you are 100%. And Gary, what's going on, Gary? Love that. Love the thought process. How can hold us back? I'm not particularly sure. I don't think they was missing a word there.
He was saying that the how can tend to hold you back.
The how can hold us back. I got you. Now I'm tracking with you. Yeah, you need those words in your wall. Yeah, we're gonna print them. We're gonna print them out. I'm gonna put them on my store. So it's all. It's
I was listen. I was going to say, y'all think I'm playing? In 2 hours, I'm gonna have 4 shirts and a couple of canvases in my store. And
then
I'm gonna send Christopher Williams. I'm gonna send him my 2% finder's fee. I'm gonna send him his money. Y'all think I'm playing?
Chris, you said something, and I want the audience to really get this part of it. Was you said the ecosystem is unbeatable. When you start talking, first you're talking about with Apple, and I think people have to understand that about an ecosystem for their business or for their podcast, right? An ecosystem has to be the total sum of its parts, and so that's why we're talking about this today, everybody, to help you understand that a podcast or a live stream in and of itself probably isn't enough. You need to actually fortify your content, who you are, what you're going to be talking about with some of these ecosystem pieces that we're going to talk about today. We're talking about just fundamentally around community as well. I want to do two more questions And the one question, of course, the one I'm going to end with is, as I think I told you guys about this one already, is a value, the immediate value that your community is going to bring to somebody. So we're going to end with that question, just kind of a little teaser there. I want to talk a little bit about what holds individuals back from really kind of starting their community. Is it the fact that they don't feel, no pun intended, they don't feel worthy enough to maybe make that leap? Maybe they don't know how. Have you guys ever felt that way? Have you guys felt like, okay, you know what, I'm not particularly sure what I'm doing? There you go. Amen, Chris. I'm not particularly sure what I'm doing. I don't know. You know, what does this look like? You know, Corey, I know you didn't know what the heck you were doing when you started Black Podcast Association, because you and I said that jokingly, but I kind of said it seriously because you and I were going back and forth so much. But you just learned so quickly. It was ridiculous. Talk a little bit about your journey and some of those feelings that you possibly had, because I think that's going to help somebody.
Well, community started because I don't like to be called out. I was complaining about something, and a friend was like, "Well, why don't you start your own?" So I was like, "Well, challenge accepted, right?" But I didn't know what I was doing, and initially, I just, that's part of my problem. I just jump right in, and I just like, "Okay, you want to challenge me? Let's go." It's a little self-destructive behavior that comes from my teenage years, but I haven't outgrown it too much. But when I started the group, I didn't know. I had no clue. I was like, okay, I knew what I wanted to do. I had a kind of a vision, but I didn't know how to execute it. And then there was a day where it was like we started getting an influx of people, and I was like, well, who the hell am I to create this? Like, who said I could? Who gave me? First, it was a real brief, but it was like, well, who gave you permission? You're some upstart in this industry who really doesn't have no real world experience in it, and here you are coming to challenge but that's how I am. I like to challenge things. I like to troll. I like to go after things. But for me, it was the imposter syndrome of like, who are you? Why are people going to follow you? Why are people going to listen to you? And you got to prepare yourself for that challenge. And I think that's why you say I learned so fast, because in my mind, I was like, I always looked at it like a war. Like, somebody's going to come and want to challenge you. You got to make sure your steel is always sharp. But I think the problem with a lot of people is the imposter syndrome, not knowing how to do it. Because for like the first 6 months, it was utter chaos in the Facebook group. I didn't know what to do. And it wasn't until I saw, they was spamming the hell out the group, like all the Facebook groups. Everybody was just doing whatever they wanted to do, because I thought that's how you let a community develop. Right? I was like, oh, just give people space for them to just say and do what they want to do. And it wasn't until one day I was going through the post, and I always tell this story. Somebody made a post, and they were asking for help, but it got lost in all the different posts in there. And it was like, I found it like 2 weeks later. And I was like, this was the person why I started this in the first place. And they never got the answer. I responded to them. They never responded back. And I was like, I lost them at that moment. And that's when I was like, we got to change the rules. No more spamming, no more. And then I thought about it. I was like, well, why are you promoting into, I'm about to preach. Why are you promoting in a room full of podcasters your podcast? Because it's like preaching to the choir. Like, this is not you can do it to build connections and collaborations, but this is not the audience that's going to get you the downloads. It's not going to be the people. We're too busy trying to do our own creative side. It's too much work. I barely listen to podcasts that I want to listen to, because I'm still working on this stuff so much. But for me, it was that one person. And I was like, I don't know. It could be my own guilt. I don't know what it was. It still resonates to me to this day. So when somebody asks for help and I don't see they don't get an answer, I try not to jump in right away. But I'll jump in just so it doesn't just sit there, and maybe somebody will see it and also, or I'll say something that'll get other people to get the conversation started. But that was the pivotal moment. And I was like, we have to change the rules, and I have to create boundaries and guidelines for how I want this community to exist. And that's when I started coming up with mission statement and stuff. But I think the main thing is people don't know how to do it. They're scared. They and it's a lot of responsibility. And I think people shy when they start realizing
right there
the responsibility of it. That pushes them away as well, because it's not easy. It has its good moments and it has its bad moments. There's times when you're like, I don't want to do this today, but you got to do it. So I think for me, those are the three things. They don't know how to do it, the imposter syndrome, and they don't want the responsibility. They're waiting for somebody else to do it.
Oh man. Woo. Okay. Hey. All right. Man, oh man. James, you got something you got to say? Go ahead.
Yeah, man. Listen, I just want to follow Corey today, man. He hitting y'all in the mouth with some things right there. Okay. But so I want to challenge you, brother, on wording is very important. You said that you have a problem, and I don't want to call it a problem. I want to use I want to use the term
Okay.
opportunity.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, just like y'all know, I don't like the word influence. I use advocate instead, and it's a real conscious thing in terms of how I get up and get going with my mission every single day. So you don't have a problem; you just have an opportunity, and there's nothing wrong with you stepping in and saying, "I'm gonna go out here and do this," even though someone else is doing it, even though someone else said I can't do it. We get crabs in the barrel syndrome, but you know what? I'm still going to get up, see this opportunity, go out here and make this thing happen, find underrepresented resources within the podcasting environment ecosystem, and I'm going to build this community myself. So that's a positive thing, being an opportunity as opposed to a problem. Man, but again, everything that you said about imposter syndrome and things of that nature, I say to my kids a lot of times about just life from a personal and from a professional perspective. A lot of times we're in our own way.
Yeah.
That's why we don't progress. That's why we think that I can't do it. That's why we think that it's too big, that it's too expensive, it's too complicated, it's too whatever. But again, you're that voice in your head is your own. No one else is really saying anything. You're the one that's saying, "Oh, I don't have the dope mic, I don't have the dope lights, I don't have the dope money to buy the platform," or whatever the case may be. But again, you're the one making all that noise to yourself. When again, there are folks out there. There's that one person that's out there asking a question, and that person knows others, so that can mushroom out, that can balloon out into other opportunities, other clients, other things of that nature, right? So I'm a huge proponent of getting up, getting after it, and getting it done, man. Again, getting out of our own way, fall down, and then get back up, learn from that situation, and then progress forward. So I just really wanted to follow off of that, man, because you said some things there that really, now I'm awake. Okay, now the West Coast, we awake over here right now, because you know what I'm saying. So
you know what's interesting about that? What's interesting about that, James? What I've recently come to understand for myself is it wasn't just about the heavy weight of the responsibility. It's I didn't want the visibility. Some of us are afraid of the visibility that taking on that mantle brings. And so we go, no, I'm cool. Let me stay over here in this corner. Right. I don't want to. Right. So Corey got forced out of the corner because he's like, man, I'm sick of seeing this. And somebody was like, well, then do something about it. Right. But not everybody takes up that challenge. And I think, unfortunately, for many of us, screaming with our thumbs is a whole lot better than leading the pack.
Come on now.
Right. So what I have found is, and I'm gonna ask every guy on here, just really quickly, go grab how many episodes on YouTube you dropped and how many episodes you dropped and on downloading your audio podcast side. Because I'm gonna show you something. But what I realized is that for many of us, we don't like the visibility. And I'm gonna just hopefully this helps somebody. I want you to know, after starting my podcast in 2016 with over 350 episodes, close to 400 now on YouTube, almost 450 episodes audio, that voice inside of your head that James was talking about still ain't going away.
Come on.
Still there.
Come on.
Here's the difference.
Every day.
Come on.
I tell people it's like driving in a car. So fear, doubt, and insecurity and you are all in the same car.
Yeah.
The question is, who's driving? Because some of us are in the back seat strapped to a straitjacket in a child seat, and fear and insecurity are just crashing and burning everywhere around. And at some point, you got to say, no, I'm driving. And here's the best thing. They're not going to go away, but they can shut up and sit in the other side.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. They're not going away. That's not, hopefully your life is healthy enough with enough experiences that you're always feeling kind of that like little bit of nervousness, right? Yeah. To James's point. He's always going to try something and challenge himself because it keeps him alive. Like that's life, right? But that means fear, doubt, and insecurity are standing right there going, hey, man, anytime you need us, we here. You like, no, I'm cool. Sit down, shut up, sit in the corner. I got this, right?
You got to.
And so I'm just saying for anybody who's like, yo, I don't know if I want to do this. I just saw in the comments somebody's in Botswana.
Yeah, I'm about
right
to put
now,
them up. I'm about to put the
crazy.
comments up. Yeah,
Shouts
man.
out to that, man.
Yeah, Eddie, go ahead.
And they're talking about like there's some
Global.
potential resource issues and some problems. But yeah, you're absolutely 36 chambers. I'm telling you right now, if you're white and you ride the wide strength, how gonna show? I don't know where. We don't know when and why. I do know this. At some point, when everybody looks back and they call you an overnight success, it's gonna be like, nah, I was here
Yeah.
probably about 10 years working on this thing, and how just eventually
Genetic.
showed up because I wouldn't shut up about it, right? I was willing to steward a thought long enough that it could germinate, take seed, take root, and now it's taking flight. I think we have to be really mindful that if a man in Botswana right now is
Come on.
like, yo, I got a podcast, I'm out here, guess what? He's stewarding a he had from where he is. And as long as he don't let that go, we good. That's
Yeah.
the power of doing this stuff because of
Agreed.
that.
Agreed. And
I like to interact with the challenge.
I would be remiss if I didn't ask 30 because I'm old school hip hop. 36 chambers. Where did you get that?
Come on, who?
What's I know.
Come
I'm
on,
just saying,
what do you
what's
mean
on
where
now.
he get it from? You know where he got it
Come on,
from.
man. Like,
Oh,
we already
yeah.
know.
Well, like, huh?
I'm just making sure.
Who's international? Hey, I know
I'm
this
just-
one.
I'm-
You know this one, Walt?
Yeah, show me
All
the
right,
pictures.
We'll let the young
I'll name three
we'll
of
let the young buck come through. You know, come on, man.
30
Some of these
chambers,
things you
it's
got to know, man.
It's an inside joke about Walt not knowing old school hip hop, because we're all most
man.
of us are of a certain vintage, and Walt
Everything else
is not.
He's seasoned.
before I
And
was born.
so there we go. I just had to throw it out there for a second here. Word choice is everything. 100%.
Around me, brother. What rules everything around me? Well, it's not not all the time,
Yeah,
but you know.
not all the time, but there you go. Yeah, thank God. Yeah, he woke up.
That is what I'm drinking. That is what and I see, Dan in the comments, so he giving me a hard time. All right, brother, listen, when you on my show next week, I'm gonna give you a hard time too. I see Dan out there with in the comments. But no.
Scream with our thumbs is a lot easier than
that's
eating
hot.
the pack. Yeah, that was dope. I already set up the trademark for that. So y'all can't even say it anymore. Don't even say it anymore. I was told once that you will only experience imposter syndrome when you are skilled and competent. I always talk about imposter syndrome, imposter syndrome in this context. You're about to do something that you've probably never done before, or that's probably bigger than you. You don't get imposter syndrome when you're walking the dog, or you're having a conversation with somebody that you're familiar with. It's really when you are truly about to embark on something that I think is really bigger than yourself, and you're about to step outside of yourself. And Chris made a really good point. I always use this old movie. It's called A Beautiful Mind with Russell Crowe, and he plays Ed Nash and a mathematician. And at the end of the movie, he has schizophrenia. He's kind of going, he's dealing with it, and they want to give him the Nobel Peace Prize. And his entire life, he's seen three voices. These three voices have always just haunted him his entire life. And the Nobel Peace Prize people are coming to him, and they say, hey, we want to give you the Nobel Peace Prize. He said, well, you just really want to know, do I still see the voices? And he looks over across the cafeteria, and he sees the three voices, and they're in the corner, and they're quiet, and they're silent. And he says, you know what? They're still there, but I choose not to answer them. And I was just like, when I heard that, when I saw that scene in the movie, it blessed me so much, because when you start to think about imposter syndrome, it's not going to go away. Those thoughts, those fears, those insecurities, those things are part of the process, I believe. But it's how do you give them space? Do you give them room to breathe? Do you water them? Do you nurture them, or do you let them die? Because they're still going to be there. So anyway, I don't get off my horse on that one, man. But Chris just just messed me up with that one, because I was like, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Wu-Tang for sure. There you go. Come on, Walt. Do you know what that is?
Mhm.
Okay, just making sure.
Oh, I know it. I know
You
it.
know what that
That's
is?
simple for my name.
No, you gotta throw. You gotta
Yeah.
do the
In the
thumb.
90s, everyone
The
threw
thumb
out
is
Walt
wrong.
when I was born. They're like,
You gotta
Walt,
do the other
Walt,
thumb. The
Walt.
thumb's wrong, man. No, just joking with you.
Oh, what is it?
I'm just throwing it out there. Hey, Steve, is
No,
if
but I was
Eddie's
Don't
gonna
let
needing
him do you
what
like
you're
resources,
that,
saying,
Walt.
if Eddie's needing resources, I have some in Africa, and I'm happy to look out. Okay, excellent, man. Excellent. Definitely started in
See what happens
2020.
when you put out your why? How
Yeah,
shows up.
100%. 100%. Now, if you got enough equipment to get 4 other podcasters set up, I've managed to sit down in a conversation with Jay Prince. Okay, awesome.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay.
And
Man
then
said
we
Jay
got Harlem
Prince.
in the house.
Stop right there. Oh, with the,
I'm telling you.
with the,
Yeah.
with the
Hey,
name
you
drop.
see. I
Name
stood
drop.
up straight just a little bit, right?
Yeah, I
Hey.
know.
I don't want no
I know.
problems.
I
I don't
know.
want no problems.
I know. Jay. I'm good.
Yeah.
Phew, thank you for this talk. We got one more question, and we're gonna try to close it up. Let James get back to bed, as well here too.
No, man. Listen, I'm up now.
You up
I
now?
want to pivot and kind. I kind of want to deviate, but I'm letting you run the show because
listen to me, man. You know how this. Come on, man. You know how we roll.
I'm trying to be polite.
What you got, James? What you got? Go ahead.
I'm not going to throw it all. No, because again, all of this dialogue, right,
Just go
that is
ahead, just go
happening, and
ahead.
the fact that we're engaging, this is hot right here, man. And I guess talking about how each of us are doing what it is that we're doing, and if there's like some best practices, if there's like some dialogue in terms of helping folks that are in the community, in the conversation right now. I mean, how many times are we going to get Botswana? Are we going to get Atlanta? Are we going to get California? Are we going to get all of this together
Cool.
at one time live to actually do? But so at the end of the day, this is why 5 of us are building
Yeah.
and proliferating in building a community and building a premium community where you come. So I'm not going to go into the last question right now that I know you're going to ask, but this is really setting up in terms of why we want to do this and why it makes sense and why we see this opportunity, why we see that need to have our distinct voices, our distinct circles around having these conversations and helping someone like 36 Chambers do what they want to do and helping them succeed. Reaching out to Dan. Dan said he got people in Africa that he can put together.
Yeah, man.
That's it right there, man. That's the drive behind what we are doing and are attempting to do. And every single day when we get a chance to get up and say, I'm going to help 36 Chambers, get in touch with Dan, get in touch with someone in Botswana, get in touch with whomever, there's the value add right there. So I didn't want to gloss over some of these blessings that we're getting already by just having this conversation here in 45 minutes that we've already had. I don't want to pass over some of that because a lot of times we'll gloss over that and we'll miss that.
Yeah.
So I want to throw those flowers out there.
No, man, and I think that's important, and I think that's why we're having this dialogue, right? It's because this is exactly what it is. It is a dialogue. It's nothing about. Yes, we're talking about community, and we're talking about how to build a community. But once again, at the end of the day, I think all of us have already articulated is that our community isn't about us, right? It's about helping other people. It's about identifying. I love what Corey said about, he had the one person in the comments that was crying out for help, got lost in all of the other noise. I'm thinking I want to carry that thought forward because there's so much noise, right? How many of you had to turn off your notifications for Threads, right? Just think about all the noise, right? Think about all the noise.
It was hot for the first 24 hours.
Dude,
it was hot.
It was crazy. Think how are we helping with our communities? But I don't think this goes into the last question yet. But maybe it does. How is your community helping cut through the noise? Right? Because when you start to think about all the different things that are out there that are vying for everybody's attention, everybody's wallet, eyeballs, ears, whatever. How are you guys cutting through that noise with your concept, with your business? Because I think about that individual that Corey was talking about. There's for each and every one of us in our different business units. I'm going back into my executive days. For each one of our concepts, there's probably 1 or 2 people that are out there waiting to hear what we have to say. How are you guys cutting through that noise? Walt, I'm going to start with you because you look like you're about to fall asleep. So I gotta, you know, wake you up.
Right, so still drinking
You know,
my
you
coffee.
still worry, you still think about that 36 chambers. So
through that noise, because part of me almost is feeling like, no, I think I want to add to the noise or kind of contribute to the noise, be in the noise, just because, like, especially for what I'm trying to do is like, I like what James was saying earlier about not influencing but really advocating. A lot of my content is kind of both advocation and just that combination of the two, contributing and advocating, and especially with my audience of Black people who are in these professional environments who maybe don't really know how to navigate these professional environments or feeling discouraged about their career growth, not making it up. So want to explore entrepreneurship. You know, there's a lot of noise out there, but sometimes they don't even know where to go to get that stuff. So really it's just being a part of that noise so that people know, okay, there's a community there just within everything else. It's like just being a part of it. And I think that kind of speaks to like not being me for real, but really just encouraging people to continue to make that noise, speaking to the issues that we face. And if they're trying to listen to the podcast, cool. But really, it's just about helping people. So even if it's just like they only see like a clip of my content and go off of that, I know it helps somebody. Last year, I was part of LinkedIn's Creator Accelerator program. A lot of people on there. I didn't even meet everyone who was a part of it, 100 different people. And sometimes we just start jumping into these trending conversations. And I created this whole video about how to quit your job with grace. Because everyone talk about quitting the jobs. That was like before the layoff season when people were just like job hopping, dipping, like, yeah, no, I'm not doing all this. And I kind of just added to that noise that was already there, but just added in the quitting with grace. So instead of flipping that table, here's how to slide on out while your past employer are praising you. Like when I left one of my jobs, I still had the CEO kind of commenting on my stuff, like, yeah, they like celebrating me and everything. So yeah, I don't really look to cut the noise or distract from it, but really just be a part of the conversation already happening.
interesting. I love that because, but so you're being a part of the noise, but you're not. And you correct me if I'm wrong, but you're not allowing the noise to consume you or your message. Is that what you? Is
I
that?
think I
Is
just
that?
don't worry about it, to be
You don't worry
honest.
about it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know my message is going to hit the person it needs to hit.
Okay.
If not, then that's all right.
So are you using the
Yeah, and I think
momentum of the
maybe that,
noise? Are you using the momentum of the
yeah.
noise? I'm just trying to get some clarity because I love the
Oh,
the
gotcha.
concept. Yeah.
I guess how I look at, like when I was speaking about being a contributor before, like and this actually probably speaks to imposter syndrome and not feeling ready to lead the charge. But when I started, it was truly to contribute, like finding the communities that are already there and just being a part of it. And my reasoning for that is because after you contribute enough times, when people see you enough times, they start to look for you a bit more. They start to look for you a bit more in that community that's already there. So I think it's like part momentum, but just more so just continuing to show up, continuing to be seen in a way that kind of is comfortable to me. So that's kind of how I start. And then eventually people want to be a part of that ecosystem that's being built. So they see me here, then they start to see me over on this platform, over on that platform. And as I kind of build my community, it's like, okay, here's a place to get more of what you're already seeing. So I guess my strategy is to show up where people are, you know, to bring it to podcasting, right? Like part of growing a podcasting is being where people are listening. That's why you put it on all these different platforms like Spotify, Apple, all this stuff. So yeah, my job is to show up. I don't show up everywhere 24/7 because I'm one person. I'm human. I'm learning that I can't be everywhere all the time, but I show up where I can and just try to keep showing up.
Yeah. Well, if you didn't have dreadlocks, had a bald head, you'd be able to get on more platforms quicker. Because I'm just throwing it out there. It's the hair that's holding you back, man. It's the hair that is holding you back.
Leave a comment right now. Is it the hair that's holding me back? Answer.
Chris, you look like you wanted to share something on this idea around whether being a part of the noise or actually trying to cut through the noise.
Yeah, I think it's I guess the way you define noise is going to determine how you go about it, right? So for me, I'm typically looking at things through one lens. Can I add value or not? And if I can't, well, then I need to sit down and learn, right? I don't run away from something that I can't add value to immediately just because I want to hear myself talk. That's just dumb, right? Yeah. So I look for, intentionally the last about 2 years, I've been in circles that all I can do is hush because these people talking stuff that I need to listen to. And that's just been intentional with some masterminds and some business coaching and stuff that I've chosen to invest in. But I think we all have something to offer. I think the difference is it's like getting older. There was a version of you at 15 that could not support the version of you at 40. But that 15-year-old you is still, was there for that moment that could handle those amount of things, that amount of responsibility. The 25-year-old version is different than the 15-year-old version. And so I think sometimes what happens is we get into these rooms or we get into these conversations or things seem exciting with the noise of whatever we're listening to at the moment. And we want to contribute, but we haven't yet developed to the point to know how we can best contribute. Yeah. Because you hadn't stuck around long enough. Yeah. Right. You guys ever been in a conversation or noticed conversations, especially on social media or dialogue below a dope post that you might have read? And you can almost point out the lack of information comments versus the ones that are well thought out. Right. This just happened to a friend of mine recently. I just had a lady on my show, Denise. Shout out to Denise, 3-time CEO of Fortune 500 companies. She and I sat down, just a dope lady, experiences. And she's got this huge initiative around putting women in CEO suites. So her hashtag is like Queen Maker, and crazy game on what some of the stuff that she's been doing behind the scenes at large companies. And she did a post recently about affirmative action. And it's on LinkedIn. People lost it. And they're accusing her of being racist and all this other stuff. And I was like, oh, this is what happens when noise gets created. When you, like Corey said, you step up to the plate and you throw something out there, and now people are like and I always tell people, here's the difference. People either react or they learn to respond. And I think too many people are reacting, right? Because she's a white woman, because they don't know her story. I know her background just because I've gotten to know her over the last 8-9 months. They don't understand where she was coming from with her posts, right? So some people choose to be a part of the noise by just throwing a bunch of more less informed comments on it, right? As opposed to really engaging her and going, hey, well, maybe this is actually a moment for me to learn. Right. Because maybe I never, and I'll just say me as a black man, maybe I never sat back and asked the question, how does a white person actually view affirmative action nowadays? We ever asked that? Nobody's ever asked that. We just think everybody should know. No, I can't say that, because I just found out, how many years ago was it? 4 or 5 years ago, that the Washington Redskins, if you ask certain people in the Indian community, I'm sorry, they really didn't like it or they didn't care, right? But we all became more informed about a particular perspective, right? And I always tell people perspective is when you listen to somebody opposite of you. Sameness don't make anything change. Listening to difference goes, oh, dang, I didn't think about that, right? So I realized that jumping into noise, no matter whatever it is, and I just got some of these cool real life situations that are going on right now, like with my friend, and shout out to Denise because she handled it like a champ. But I realized that for many of us, sometimes you got to be willing to add value. And I haven't commented on her post yet, mainly because we literally just released a full episode of her post. So people are finding me because of what she posted, and it's a whole lot going on over on LinkedIn and in the sphere. But what I realized is like, wait a second, I don't have nothing yet to add of value. And so until I can speak intelligently to that moment, I'm gonna wait. I want to hear what other people are saying, though. I want to know why people immediately get so outraged, right? I want to understand that. Now, as a podcaster, that's just a skill I've developed. Because I've learned that if you really want to get good at this game, stop having judgment.
Yeah.
I ain't here to judge none of it. I just want to hear perspectives. Talk to me about where you are with what you get. James did a James, who was that you was just with? You dropped the video. Y'all
I don't know, but
did,
that's why I'm
somebody
just
y'all got
grinning
coming on
because
the front.
y'all say that again.
There's the video that you just did. That you got somebody coming on the show. I think it was Julian Edelman. Y'all got coming through, right? Was it Julian?
No, we got Eric Weddle. We got Eric Weddle.
Eric Weddle. Y'all got Eric
Yeah.
Weddle coming through the
Yeah.
show, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I think sometimes, right, like you may see people like him, or you see stuff and you're like, why would James go find this guy? But it's like James had an experience with this guy to go, wait a second, I want this dude on my show.
Yeah.
I had an experience, right? And so I think, unfortunately, too many times we jump into noise and we're just like, because we want to be active, and we never step back and go, wait a second, I need to understand what's going on right now so I can speak intelligently to it. And that's why now I got a huge, huge respect for why people wait to speak on something.
Yeah.
I used to get angry when people would wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see your favorite heroes, right? You like, man, why they ain't saying nothing yet? And you like,
slow down.
That's why.
Yeah.
Slow down.
Yeah, you could.
So,
You could lose your head.
now I get it. Okay.
Back in the days, you know.
100%. Chris, go ahead and go, man. You work out. Don't be scared. Go ahead and post on her and comment on her post, man. You work out, so don't be afraid. So I'm just saying, if you scared, don't do it afraid, man. Just you work out. Just post. Like,
well,
man,
here's what's interesting.
Do your thumbs.
Here's what's
your
interesting
thumbs,
about
man.
the moment. What's interesting about the moment is I've never been in this space where here's this prominent white woman who, I mean, has kicked butt at a lot of different companies and is very visible.
Right.
She shares her opinion, and I'm actually a good friend, business associate with her.
Right.
I've never been in that position before.
That's awesome, man.
Ever.
That's awesome.
So I'm choosing to like listen and figure out what's going on, and then she and I will have a conversation.
Yeah.
And then I'll respond.
Yeah.
Right?
Don't use.
Like,
here's the one thing, though. Don't use ChatGPT for your response.
Heck no.
No, that's what Corey. That's what Corey does. Corey like to use ChatGPT for everything.
Actually, I'm sitting here like I'm gonna start doing that with people.
All right, we go. So okay, man. All right, it's 11:15.
Oh, you want me to answer the question? You don't want me to answer the question, Steve?
Go ahead, Corey, man.
We gotta talk about.
Just skip right over me, right?
I'm just busting. We
got.
Nah,
So for me,
go ahead, Corey.
So for me, the noise was. For me, the noise is. I one of the rules I started was this space is specifically for podcasting, right? Because like what Chris is saying, you got to be careful of the echo chamber, right? Communities are where echo chambers are created, so you got to create a space where you can have different perspectives, views, have engaging conversations. So I was like, we have people who are in the LGBT community, who have religious backgrounds. We have people from all different walks of life. But what is the common thread here? It's the podcast, and everybody's here about their podcast. They want to do it. So we keep it specifically about that. I reserve judgment. I don't always agree with everybody, but what you decide to do in your podcast outside the community is entirely on you. But don't bring it in here, right? Whatever, we're here to talk about how do we succeed in this space. So that was one of the number one rules. The other thing for me too is how do I keep the noise from interfering? Is I created a mission statement. And anything that goes into that mission statement, I don't get rid of. I put it to the side. It's the programmer in me. It's the whole it keep iterating. I also keep a heat check of what's the conversations that are going on, because sometimes the noise, you see that everybody has the same issue, so you got to move in that direction. So it's kind of like the Bruce Lee, be like water. So that also helps a little bit too. It's like going with the flow, seeing where everybody's at, and then providing them the resources and things to help them solve that, and just constantly keep observing and listening to what's going on. Some people don't know how to say I need help. You got to listen to how they say things. Yeah. But for me, the noise is really just letting it be free enough to flow, but having those boundaries so that if it gets off track, we can easily bring it back on track. And you got to address it right away. If you do have an issue, you can't let it fester, because that's how you ruin. We've all probably had management positions at some point in our lives. that's how you ruin the culture of the team that you built or the community that you built. So that's how I make sure. So I'm always on top of it. I'm always listening. I'm always watching, and I'm always make sure that I'm always reviewing my mission statement too, because as the community grows, sometimes the mission changes too. So I'm always revamping and going through and just reiterating through things and taking that, like, what is it? I forgot. I can't think of it now. But like in programming, you just keep reiterating through your code until you get it right, till the performance is ready to go out in production. So that's how I look at it, and that's how I keep the noise out.
And Corey, I gotta commend you because you
that regression testing, brother.
Yeah, regression testing. There you go.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
You do a great job of bringing everybody back on task, right? If you will, you know what I mean, within the community. Yeah. And I think the other part that those who out here are thinking about a community that you have to understand is, like, especially if you're the one creating the community, that it is your community, even though it's for other people. You still have to have ownership and almost a sense of you have to have oversight for it, and you can't be afraid. And I don't think Corey's afraid to lose anybody, right? While someone may leave because they may not like what Corey may say or how he just doesn't allow for certain things to happen within a community, and if they leave, I don't think that's on them. I think more people inside the community will appreciate that more so than the opposite as well. And I cannot let Corey leave without this. And James, I'm going to have you talk here in a second, but I gotta.
I said, the bridge is over. The bridge is over. The bridge is over. The bridge is over.
All right, there we go.
Man,
that's from my man.
This is the place where stars
go. That's from my man in Queens.
There go your YouTube
where
strike right there.
Did not start with hit. No, I'm actually I haven't gotten a strike. I have not gotten a strike on any of my on any of my videos, man. James, go ahead.
Okay. Listen. Again, I guess I want to follow up what Corey said, because I want to tail off of that. Yeah, we build these communities. Yeah, we are I use the word shepherd, moderator. And for everyone listening, everyone watching, we're not sitting here saying we know everything.
No.
Right. But we are sitting here saying that we are open to have an inner circle of folks around us and moderators and folks like-minded helping us build a community and go into a specific direction. Now, the fact that we may be the originators, we may be the founders, we may be whatever, but that is important because these communities have our name on it. And Cher Jones is in the room, and she knows about personal branding, right? If we are building something that represents us and represents our brand, we are going to have to put some bumpers around it. And there is going to have to be some framework around it. There's going to have to be some restrictions. There's going to have to be some rules. There's going to have to be some professionalism around. And we're not going to have a lot of noise in here that doesn't resonate with the common goal and the common good. There's nothing wrong with that. That actually should be respected from anyone who, again, comes into a premium community. That's what we're building. We're not building. This isn't the old GeoCities. This isn't MySpace. We're not building. This is nothing off of Netscape. I'm flashing back to a lot of things that Walt may not remember, but right, we are building learning communities around professionally like-minded folks, and there's going to have to be those buffers. It has to represent a brand. It has to represent a purpose, and it has to be locked in on pulling everyone forward. That's a critical thing that shouldn't be overlooked. When we start rolling these out and showing people what we're charging, people pay attention to what they pay for. So I'm not going to charge $4 a month to be a part of a premium community where you're going to have some subject matter experts, and when you're going to have folks that are your trusted advisor giving you real concrete information of how to elevate your business, your goals, and your dreams in a particular space in podcasting and business growth and whatever it is that you're doing. So you got to put that out there, and you can't assume it. So, I mean, that actually has to be verbally stated, either in text, in a video or something, because you have to have that prefaced in there. If someone's going to come in, give you their hard-earned dollars, send you a Stripe payment, or however they're going to send it, make sure that they're getting that value for that dollar. And again, people pay attention to what they pay for. And if they don't like what's in that community, what you're offering, they're going to leave, then they're going to tell someone else. Don't go over there and mess with Corey because he don't know what he talk about, right? And so you don't want that negativity around you. You want to make sure that we build, and I'm talking to everyone. I've got one finger pointing out, three fingers pointing back at me as well. We
Yeah.
want to build something of quality that represents us, represents our brand, and represents the community around us. So I had to throw that in there, man, because again, I don't want to assume anything, and I want folks, if they're out here in the audience as well, looking to build their own environment, their own digital property, their own digital presence, that you take those things into consideration as you're doing that.
Yeah, and I'm going to stick with you, James, because I want to ask that one question that I told everybody that I told you all that I wanted to ask, and it was around value, because, and I love what you said, because here's the other thing, folks. Those of you who are here in the community or out here in the audience listening, we are not talking about building a community for community's sake, right? We are really intentional about the communities that we're building. And to James' point is that they are premium communities, and premium can have a different perspective or different connotation to each and every person. But at the end of the day, we're really talking about either, there's a measure of free, but there's also a paid aspect of communities. And to that point, one of the questions that I want to ask each and every one of you, and I know Walt doesn't want to answer this question, but I'm going to go to James first and give Walter some time to think about it. What is one gain your community, your service will offer to provide instant value? And here's why I say instant, everybody, is because when you go into a community, how many of us have gone into a community and we look around and we're like, dude, this, and I paid for this, or what am I getting, when I go into a community? And I know everybody's thinking about something differently, but I think as we're all building our communities, we all know that there is a specific area or measure of value that we are trying to instantly bring to people. And James, I'm going to go back to you.
Yeah. You are a solopreneur, entrepreneur looking to elevate your presence in this digital content ecosystem. The Digital Collective will provide concentrated attention to detail. That's it. That's what we're going to do, right? Again, if you are an entrepreneur, solopreneur looking to elevate your presence within this digital content creation ecosystem, concentrated attention to detail. Everything in terms of how to get started, set up, configured, all of the things, the behind the scenes things, the administrative pieces, and then that on camera presence, right? Everything that goes from the production to the distribution to the creation and things of that nature, and really how to curate that information, how to distribute that information. That's really what I'm going to be locked in on at a core, concentrated attention to detail. Again, because people pay attention to what they pay for. So I want to make sure that on a daily basis that the conversation can go whichever way they want to go. There's channels for just high level conversation, share these links, telling joke, whatever. But at the end of the day, when you come in there and you go into a strategy channel and you start talking about, hey, how can I get moving? We're going to have a concentrated attention to detail to make sure that you have the resources, the access to information that you need as well to push forward, to push through that particular barrier for that particular day. Let's help you get 1% better when you come into the community. Let's make sure that you're getting that value for either that hard-earned cash that you're paying, or that time that you're giving us to come and actually look at the community. So that's what it is: concentrated attention to detail.
Excellent. All right, Corey. I could probably answer this one, but I'm not, because I'm part of the Black Podcasters Association. But go ahead.
I think the number one thing, and this is coming from my members, is our education component. We've done numerous what I now term as learning labs or workshops from different people within the community, within the podcast industry, to come and talk about those subjects that some members have asked us to, needed more help with, or just things that I saw just in general from watching the group that I felt that everybody could benefit from. So our library of workshops right now, and we've actually tripled what we did last year in that space so far. We're en route to triple what we did. So the library is going to be really extensive there. And then just the networking part, you immediately get welcomed, and you can immediately start networking with people of all levels in the podcast industry and all levels of success. So you get that immediately as well.
Yeah, I love the dialogue and the library that you have created, in your community is crazy. And I think that's the one thing that a lot of people miss when they think about starting their community, is that idea around actually creating, you know, specific content. I think it's just not just a place for discussion, but it's more so around actually being able to consume content that you are going to actually utilize for your own journey, for your own intents and purposes as well too. Chris.
Yeah, I'm in the process of vamping right now. So
Yeah.
my biggest focus is so first of all, when you first come in, I do something called Massive Action Monday every single Monday. So that piece to me is important, because how you start anything is how you're gonna do everything. So I like to be able to give people that piece of value. I think I'm having some conversations right now with a guy who's doing like astronomical numbers when it comes to the content that they build as a company. They build content for communities as a service. And some of the things that I've been learning is that some people build content for content's sake, and they're not building content with the intentionality that says, so I want you to think of content just like we talked about the ecosystem,
Yes.
right?
Come on.
If I build this piece of content, is it an addition? Does it take away? Does it fit right in? Is it the arm? Is it the elbow? Is it the toe? Is it the whole foot? What is it, right? Some people just put out content just to say, oh, I got a whole bunch of content back there. And statistics show that less than 8% of people across all content information ever go through all that content. So some people do in their communities content overload, right? And so then nobody takes any of that content.
Come on.
So what I've been the reason why I revamped, I took a lot of my stuff down inside of my Facebook group, and I've been revamping is because I'm working with this group to understand how you build content effectively. And one of the things that I've been looking at is we're going to build content as needed. And the first piece that I'm actually building is kind of your blueprint, if you will, to the foundation of somebody building a successful side business.
Yeah. Yeah.
Meaning you can't take any of other content that we build until you know this. And here's the reason why. And I learned this from this group, and this was the dopest thing they ever told me. Until everybody in the choir is singing from the same sheet of music, it will never sound good.
Yeah.
So basically, that piece of content is the gateway to everything else inside of my community. If you don't take that, nothing else will work. Right? So now, of course, when you mature your community, then they can come in at different points. Apple has matured, so you don't have to start with the iPhone no more. You can start with the Mac, right? You can start with, right? You don't have to just go that way. I'm not there yet. And when my community finally matures and we're at that space, then cool. The way I'm going to mature my community, though, is to Corey's point, I'm actually going to call people out to help build certain content. I shared with James months ago, and we're still working and tweaking the idea of a way that I think I've never seen anybody done to actually build content within a community. And I think we're almost there with some testing that I've been doing with some different things. But I think that's the key is I think people are just contented out at this point because we got Zoom fatigue during the pandemic. And so if you really want to see people grow, if you really want to be able to point to others in your community other than yourself, you got to build content in a way that says 101, 201, 301, 401, right? Like you got to build it so people go, okay, I got the foundation. Oh, now I understand the language of this community. Now I understand exactly how people work. Oh, now I understand where the resources are. Okay, cool. Now I can, go into something else. But I'm really building that piece so that we're all singing on the same sheet of music.
Yeah, I can't let you go real quick until you tell me or tell us the idea. You said I'm trying to build content differently inside of community. You've been tested. If you can't tell us, that's okay. I understand it. And if you got to tell us and then got to send the assassin, afterwards, I'm good with that. But I couldn't let that one. I couldn't let that one lie.
We all good.
Okay.
Yeah, y'all don't need an NDA. We straight. I shared this with James before because what I realized is, I just pay attention to a lot of what people are doing, and I called it the Wikipedia effect. So right now, the number one trusted source that's free across all of the lies on the internet is Wikipedia. People literally will bite your head off if you post something on a Wikipedia page that ain't true, right? So what does that tell me about human psychology? We're always in the source for truth. That's all we want. We want the truth. So what I want to do within my community is I want to actually build content from the community, within the community, but then as they go through our ascension levels, they can get to a point to where now if they helped participate to build something, they actually have the right to go out and be able to sell it if they never understood how to be able to build a business. But they're using our foundational training to know how to be able to use that information effectively to go out and actually start promoting and selling it. Well, what does that do? It works twofold. One, that person is out there building them a business. That's social proof from within the community, so more people want to join the community. Number two, what does it do? It brings more people into the community, because if Steve's out there building, and man, he's got, he made, $5,000 off of something we built within the ecosystem. Well, now what happens to everybody? They're like, well, dang, how did he do that? Well, now we have duplication being created organically that Chris did not have to create. It came from within the community. So my goal and my job is to craft the skeleton of what needs to be created and get people throughout the maturation process of being in my community so that they can now contribute to the things that we create as skeletons. And then they put the meat and the pieces on it that actually work. Then we go test it. And once it's ready, now it's an official course. It's an official learning journey, whatever it is. It doesn't matter what it is. But now it's official. Now we put our stamp on it. We put our name on it. They're actually able to go out, and basically I'm creating my own affiliates within my community. And I don't even have to work anymore, because it starts to just become organic. Because when people start having success with that thing, they're going, dang, I want to do some more of this. Okay, cool. Well, let me show you how we can actually get this done. And I think all free, by the way, right? Meaning if you're in my premium community, this is something you just get access to.
Right.
The things that we're building, you get a chance to build it with us. And you get to go make money off of what we built in the community. I have been in a lot of communities. I ain't seen no version like that built yet.
Yeah.
None. They have content that you can go and affiliate do. But I'm talking about Steve, Walt, and Corey came together in my community, used an idea that I had as the leader. They put it together. We stamped it. We put the other pieces to it. And now they're able to go out and sell it. And they're making a killing profit just because they were a part of my community. And guess what? They gonna all want to go do? Do it again. Because they're like, well, shoot, I got to learn how to do this stuff and build me a business. Absolutely. And I call it the Wikipedia effect, because again, Wikipedia is like, it's the one thing people are out there. I mean, as many lies are told on, scandals and everything else. A Wikipedia page, people will fight you about that thing. Lie on somebody's Wikipedia page, they will call you out. And I realize that's just the human condition of wanting to, hey, people are looking for a source of truth. And so if I can build a community where we can start trusting each other in that way, we can start to build things that better people. Look out, man. Nice. Rap. You can't, again, the ecosystem once it's built, you can't beat it. I don't care what you do. Can't beat it.
That's true.
Corey had to leave. He had to go get his hair cut or something like that. Couldn't believe it. He had to leave. He had to do something.
Had to get that fade.
I remember in you talk about Wikipedia though. I have PTSD from grad school, because they were like, dude, I had professors that were like, don't you ever in any kind of weather use Wikipedia as a reference. And it was just like ingrained in us. And I remember I had a person that was working on a team project, and they were like, well, I got this from Wiki. And before they even finished the word, everybody in the group was like, stop. Don't even do it. Don't even do it. All right, what?
Funny, there's a cheat code in school, right? Because I definitely used it. Wikipedia, what's really dope about it is they cite their sources. In fact, if I see a thing on Wikipedia that doesn't have the source, probably not going to use it. Just go to that link down there, and boom, you got your
Well,
source.
just go to the source.
Man, Wikipedia, right? It's almost like that premium community, except it's free.
Oh
It
Lord.
curates all of this knowledge and delivers it to you in an easily consumable way for you to
Y'all got 'em
understand, for you to
started.
learn.
Chris,
real
you
deep.
started this.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
Go
I'm
ahead,
loving this
Walt.
Wikipedia example, Chris. I'll send you 2% too. Yeah, man, that's Wikipedia.
We got a
What was the
question from Dan that we're gonna close with. But what I want you to go ahead and answer the question there, as well.
I'm not gonna lie, I got caught up in the Wikipedia example. What was the question?
What's the instant value?
Oh, instant value.
That's it. Yeah.
Yes. See, I was ready for this one too. Real simple, right? So I started my podcast to kind of solve a problem, prove that natural hair and professionalism do coexist, but there's a deeper issue that I was facing, not sure how to be my authentic self and still be in these workplaces. And actually, shout out to Cher who's in the comments, because the other day she kind of called me out. She's like, I think you're afraid right now. I think you're experiencing some fear. And I was like, damn, you're right. So really that instant value that I'm kind of providing is kind of facing fear, kind of facing the unknown, specifically around career growth and exploring entrepreneurship. I'm not an expert, don't claim to be, but I'm more of like a tour guide, kind of showcasing specific examples and experiences that people are having and applying it to one's own experience. I think one thing about content, searching on Google, like there's so much of it out there, but sometimes it's hard to figure out how to apply it to your own life. So the reason for the community is not like Chris Chan's example, like not to flood with like premium content or private content. It's really to kind of speak to your own specific experiences, your examples, the thing that's driving you crazy, that toxic work environment, and really like, okay, how do we create a plan to get out of it? Like, what's your path to new growth? That's that instant value, kind of creating resources, helping people feeling discouraged about their career growth. And also it's just specifically for Black people too, because I think that's important, having those private spaces, because there's these conversations we need to have. You can do it in public spaces, I do it all the time, but sometimes you have to take a step back to kind of break it down to other people who are kind of jumping in the conversation, who aren't part of the culture like that. So yeah, creating spaces for Black people. Just want to
Nice, man. Nice. I think here's what, and then we're not going to do this today, but I think like on the Zoom call that we have together, I want us to I want us to challenge each other on our stuff. You know what I mean? Because I want us to be able to make sure we're all of us are able to hone in on what that value. Not saying that we haven't. Not saying that we haven't, but I want us to. I'm just thinking out loud, guys, and because I love our dialogue on Slack, but I know we've done one Zoom call. Maybe we need to do another one, but I think that just iron sharpens iron type of mentality as well.
Yeah,
like
accountability is huge.
Yeah. I wanted to close with this one because I think this is a really good one, and we can save platforms and all of that stuff. Probably for another call. He talks about inactivity. Within the community. What are some of your thoughts around this one? Because I know that there is a percentage, like you just talked about, that within communities that people aren't going to be active, and people sometimes they're kind of lurkers. I was a lurker in the eCam community for like 8 months before I did anything, before I posted, before I did whatever, because I was just sitting back kind of learning. And I think we also have to understand that there are going to be people just like that, like Chris was just talking about, that are kind of just sitting back and just like observing and learning on their own, and have to be okay with that. But when do we get to the point where we feel like inactivity is an issue, and we're losing the engagement level that we really want to have within our communities? James?
So I think there's two
Chris,
parts to
go ahead,
that.
Chris.
First of all,
No, go ahead, Chris. He on one right now.
Yeah, man. No, go ahead.
Honest accomplice. Let me tell you something. If you got 37% average, that's high.
That's what I was gonna say. Go ahead. There you go. Because that's exactly what I was gonna say right there. There it is.
First of all, that's crazy. And I think there's a underlying issue though. All these platforms ensure suppression across these groups. For whatever reason, that has become the thing. Facebook, everybody's not seeing your content. Right. Some people struggle with that on LinkedIn, all these different platforms, right? So some of it, even our data is a little bit off because they're not allowing everybody to see your stuff to start with. So you're already at like a disadvantage from an engagement standpoint, right? So I think we have to give ourselves a little bit of grace because some of that is uncontrollable, meaning we didn't build the platform, so ain't nothing we can do about it, which is the reason why we've been all talking about platforms, right? Because we're like, today Threads is hot. Why? Because they're just allowing free organic stuff. At some point, they're going to slow all that down, right? Like, okay, we get that. So I think my man said it's a 12,000 person community. First of all, brother, you need to give us a tutorial on how you get that. I'm sorry. I have tried and I don't get it. Like this dude, change Corey out and put him up. My goodness, that's crazy.
Dan, come on. Hey, he'll be on my show next week. So or this week, I don't know when. We'll talk about it.
Yeah. But the thing is that I think you're right, Steve. I think some of it, we're gonna have to just be all right with some people not engaging all the time with their thumbs. I'm the kind of person, if I find something of value, you probably not gonna really hear from me. Not because I don't care, because I'm actually out there doing the thing that you set out and gave me a value.
You working in silence.
I went to work with what you gave.
Come on.
So my best thank you to you is to go out and do the thing.
Come on now.
Yeah, like so that when I do come to you and I say something to you, I'm not just coming because I'm happy to be here. I'm coming going, yo, you remember that PDF you dropped about how to do this? Well, I went out and did it, and here's the results I got. And I just wanted to say thank you. Right? Like, to me, that's how I operate. I know everybody does not do that. But my point is, it might be a whole bunch of conversation going on. I'm watching, I'm reading, and I'm going, oh, okay, so that's how you work this. Oh, that's how you, okay, cool. And I'm gone. I'm just not a guy who sits around all day on his thumbs. I'm just not that guy.
Yeah.
So I think we also have to look at what engagement means today versus what it meant 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I think it's changed because the platforms have matured. That's just me.
Yeah.
I think now you got to
engage.
Go ahead, James.
No, go ahead.
No,
I was going to say, I think you have to. I made some phone calls, right? So I started actually calling people in my community because I noticed they really don't communicate there. But when I get on the phone with them, they're like, oh man, I saw this and I was reading this. And I'm like, oh, okay, my community is a little different, right? They not only, they actually working the thing or using the thing that I said. So that's not how they're going to ultimately communicate all the time, right? So that's just something that I've been doing.
Yeah. So that's what I was going to say. People consume information differently. And to have a number, like Dan is saying, have a high or a mid 30% engagement rate, that's actually very good, kind of like Chris was saying. And I'll use somebody's name that a lot of us know, a Pat Flynn, right? You want to find that tribe. You can't reach every single person all the time looking for a particular thing. You are going to reach those folks that are focused, concerted, that are locked in on whatever their task, their goal, their opportunity is at that particular time frame. So if you have 12,000 people and only 200 of them are active in terms of communication, conversation, enablement, engagement, and things like that, those are your folks. That's your tribe for today and for right now. 2 months down the road, 3 months down the road, next quarter, next half, or whatever, 500 other folks may chime in because they may be in a particular situation where they need some of this insight. They need that Chris Williams PDF. So nothing wrong with that. But again, you as the moderator, you as the facilitator, as the shepherd of the community, you need to know those analytics, and you need to put that kindling under that fire of the folks that are active and make sure that doesn't die out. But then I like that aspect of reaching out to the folks who may be a little bit silent. Hit them up with like a questionnaire or an email, one-off email saying, "Hey, what's going
Right.
on? Are we meeting your needs?" Because again,
Yeah.
if these are premium communities, so we are going to be proactive as opposed to reactive all the time, every month, every quarter, every year, whatever the case may be. So those folks that have gotten a little bit quiet in terms of the engagement, let's make sure that we reach out to those folks and make sure that we're continuing to provide that value to them. So I mean, again, so the numbers are going to be whatever the numbers are. We as analytical folks, we as technologists, we're going to look at all the graphs, we're going to look at all the charts, and we're going to see who's coming in from the states, globally, from
Yeah.
male, female, this age, and whatever. So we're going to know all of that stuff inside of our head, but staying on top of that and making sure that everyone gets what they're expecting
Yeah.
to get from the community is a huge chore and a huge task that we all take willingly, again,
Yeah.
as the moderators, as the shepherds, as the administrators of a particular premium community.
Agreed. And Dan, I think we can all say that we probably want access to that community if you, depending on what that community is, to be part of that 12,000. So, just throwing that out there. And we're gonna close with Walt. What's your thoughts around inactivity, and when you come up against it, what are some of the thoughts, and what are you gonna do maybe proactively to kind of make sure you can't say make sure that it's not gonna happen, but to be proactive as it relates to try to minimize it or mitigate it as much as possible?
That's a good question. Honestly, I kind of accept it, right? Just accepted that something that may happen. And I did the calculations. Like out of that 12,000, you could check my math too. I'm not a mathematician, but that's 4,440 people who are engaged in your community. That's a lot of people. And I personally don't know of any community where everyone is active. I've even been in communities where it's like 20 people. And yeah, group chat would be going crazy. And I'll see people commenting, but there's like certain people who are not a part of it, or they mute the notifications. So I think back to what James and Chris were saying is there are people who engage differently. And I think that's just part of the process. So I don't even focus on inactivity or make sure everyone's engaged. I do focus on making sure everyone is comfortable and feels safe in the environment to engage if they choose to. But I know there's
That's a good
people
point.
who are,
Mm-hmm.
more introverted or maybe even like socially anxious as well. So it's just not as natural versus someone who wants to be in the mix all the time like that. So it's just creating different types of ways to engage, whether it's tuning into the live stream, whether it's like taking this self course, maybe those one-on-one calls like Chris was saying. So just creating different options for people, letting them choose, and just continuing to show up. I think also, if you think about it, like Facebook groups, I'm sure y'all have experienced it too, right? Where they're like, this person has tagged you in the post. When you look, they tagged at everyone, because even Facebook knows that not everyone's going to engage. They're going to miss it because these platforms aren't designed for. They're designed for attention, right? And like everyone's grabbing the attention. So I think that's like the $1 billion question: how to get everyone engaged. But I know I'm in communities that I don't really have an interest in engaging with. I just occasionally pop in to look at what's going on. So focus on the 37%. That's my answer.
Good. That's a good answer.
And also
Gentlemen,
appreciate you,
go
Dan. I
ahead.
saw the comments, so thank you. He was saying he like
I did. I
following.
tried to bypass that comment, but
Yeah, I know you're not trying to let me shine. Appreciate
all right, I'll put
that.
it up there.
Appreciate
I'll put it up there. There you go. What's
Criminally
great?
underrated.
There
No.
you go. All righty. You feel good about yourself now? And all right, good. And even Cher was
Send me
like,
that in a frame.
Cher was like, poor Walter. Stop leaving him alone. No,
Right.
we can't leave Walter alone. Gentlemen, wow. You listen to me. We could have kept going, and I wanted to be. I just want to thank you for your time, because Chris, I know you moved something around for this. James, you're on the left coast, and you woke up, and you finally woke up. You woke up twice, so I appreciate that. You woke up physically, and then you woke up verbally, which I always appreciate, man. I always appreciate it. We may have to continue this conversation on another topic around ecosystem, maybe even talking about platforms, because I think we need, because that's a topic, that's an area of community that we didn't talk about, and I think people really want to know that too. So I think we're gonna have to kind of we're gonna have to further this conversation. There has to be a part 2 to this as well too, and I think everybody in the audience would probably agree with that. Gentlemen, I'm not even gonna go to myself because I just really want to thank you all for being here. I'm going to make sure all of your information is of course in the description, so where everybody can connect with you at. But I do want to give that opportunity to let everybody know, or for you to let everybody know where they can connect with you at. James, starting with James.
Yeah, everything. First of all, again, man, appreciate you for this time as well, and for this engagement, for this conversation. I think it was valuable, definitely, especially having all of the comments come in and the interaction there. Best place really right now is going to be jameshicks.link. Right, that is my one catch-all that has every single thing. It has my homepage. It has where the community is going to be, affiliate relationships. It has social networks and channels, things like that. So jameshicks.link.
Excellent. Mr. Walter.
Like I said earlier, I like to show up in different places. Super active on LinkedIn. I would say right now you can search for me on LinkedIn, Walter Gaynor II. I'm about to really, really super concentrate, obsess over YouTube for a minute while I'm building up the community. So search Boss Lux Media on YouTube, and starting next week, I'll be popping up videos there. So, like Chris was saying, we got more podcasts and YouTube videos. Not today. We're gonna be all over that. So, Boss Lux Media on YouTube, Walter Gaynor II on LinkedIn. If I'm not on your favorite platform, DM me. I like meeting new people. I'll show up there too.
All right, good deal. And last but very, very not least, my man. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, all platforms. Grow your side business. That's literally easy way to find me. Grow your side business,
And on the side of it, and on the side of his car.
And
that's true too.
Hey, got the rap.
And on the side of his car. All right, gentlemen. I really appreciate you guys for being here. Let me make sure I got the right thing that I get up out of here as well too. So have a great Saturday, everybody. If you need any more assistance, we're gonna do this again. So this is just part 1.
Yeah, Tech Talk next week.
Yeah, man. This is just part 1. Everybody, have a great rest of your Saturday. Talk to you soon. God bless.